Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Diamond Hands podcast. Today, I am so excited to have someone here I've known almost since I started in the industry back in 2020.
Mhm.
Right,
Yeah.
Alexis Bowhay. She's a physician associate and she is with us today. And she's located in the Orlando area. And she actually has a training institute, a YouTube we're going to talk about later that you guys make sure you subscribe to. She's written 4 books. She's won many awards, and we're just going to get into all sorts of things today. So, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So, a theme for our listeners that I want to get into today is like really about, reinvention, self awareness, and also like building authority in public. Because I really think so many people get so scared of starting fresh. So, before we go there, let's go back to the beginning. How did you even find your way into the medical aesthetics world?
Well, one, I started off in cardiology and had the classic, like most injector stories, classic burnout, where I was grinding and grinding and grinding and just completely underappreciated. And I will always be the hardest worker in the room. So I was showing up early, staying late, and I was on salary, and it just wasn't making sense anymore. And I felt like I had no control over my life.
Mhm.
So I made a hard left and decided to leave medicine and opened up several gyms in Orlando and did that for about 10 years. I didn't even practice medicine for about 10 years. And then finally, my gyms were up and running. And I was like, you know what? I really want to use my brain again. And I kind of organically fell into aesthetics because I felt that the gym clientele was the same person taking care of their skin, they're getting Botox, getting these treatments. The self care client was the same as an aesthetic patient and in the gym. And it kind of just naturally unfolded. I met Larry Blevins, started shadowing him, begged him because nobody would hire me. And I begged him to work for him for free. And I said, I will work for you for free for a year if you just train me. And I promise you it'll be the best investment you ever made. And I did. I didn't work for free. That's kind of illegal. But I worked as a local assistant to a PA. So I had to take a huge step back in my career to take a giant leap forward. So I worked as his assistant to an equivalent degree. He was a PA, I'm a PA. Worked as a medical assistant for a year. And finally, they hired me as a true injector after a year of training. And I've been with them ever since. And that's kind of how I kind of navigated my career into aesthetics.
Yeah, and I love that. And also something about Larry that I is that I know that they have the American Foundation of Aesthetic Medicine Fellowship Program, right? And you were actually their first ever graduate. And it's like, and I know that program is very rigorous and it follows injectables, lasers, and also cosmetic surgical procedures because you have Dr. Danny as well. He's the best, your medical director. So I talk a little bit more about going through that training and how that roadmap differs from how many people actually enter the industry now.
So, what's so interesting is, again, I started with Larry and Dr. Soares with this fellowship. So, I
Mhm.
didn't know anything other than top tier training, right? I didn't start at another practice and then go into their practice. I started there. So from day one, they taught me how to hold a syringe and what a vascular occlusion was on the very first day. After completing that fellowship, I walked out of there saying, like, I don't know how other injectors do it because the training isn't out there, right? These fellowships don't really exist. So I am so blessed to have had that top tier education from day one, whereas a lot of injectors are reaching for anything to train them on these things, watching videos, going to like Empire or AAFE and trying to figure it out. Whereas with this fellowship, I was so lucky to kind of just organically fall into and have top tier training from day one. But a lot of injectors are just white knuckling it, trying to figure it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. And with that too, it's just because it's almost like a classic practicum, right? Tell me about how many hours you actually had to complete in shadowing and also actually practicing in order to qualify to become, a provider.
So it was a 6-month program. So I was a
Mhm.
medical assistant to Larry for 6 months. And then we started the fellowship for 6 months.
Mhm.
And in the fellowship, you had to do 100 cases supervised of both neurotoxin and filler. So they had to
Mhm.
be my shadow over my head, watching the entire treatment. I had to get signed off. I had to watch several surgical procedures like Dr. Soares' facelift, a rhinoplasty, a blepharoplasty. So you understood not only the injectable standpoint, but also the surgical because they go
Yeah.
hand in hand. I
Yep.
can't do what Dr. Soares can do, and he can't do what I can do with an HA. So you
Mhm.
need to have that referral system and understand what your patient is going to experience in the OR. So it
Mhm.
was all encompassing. And then you, at the end, you had to take a 100-question exam and pass the exam. So it was a full curriculum at six
Mhm.
months, and then you get your certificate. And then I begged them to hire me. I said, "You guys poured your heart and soul into me, so I mean,
Mhm.
you have to hire me now." So they ended up hiring me as their first hire. They hadn't
Mhm.
hired another injector. It was just Larry and Dr. Soares in the practice, and then I became their first injector outside of them too.
Yeah, the rest is history. And now it's been how many years? Like what, 10 years now?
No, I started that in beginning of or in 2019 with them.
2019. Okay. Yeah. So, okay. That makes sense. But I think that is so beautiful the level of excellence that you were subject to from the very beginning. Because what many training institutions have turned into are mills of crap, mills of filth and pestilence. And people are going in, spending their hard earned money, and they're coming out none the wiser with no game plan. Not
I
any, nothing.
I will add to that. I took an AAFE course, and
Mhm.
I think it's great. I think the courses are great to learn the vocabulary and get like surface level knowledge. But this is how in my opinion I think it's actually dangerous because I took their master lip course,
Yeah.
and I kid you not, I injected in this course the right upper lip, and I got a certificate with the name master lip injector. But here I am. This is before Larry brought me in as his medical assistant. I came to him with all my certificates, and he looked at this, and I was so excited to show him my certificates. And he looked at this and he was like, and he literally, not in a rude way, but put the folder to the side and was like, this doesn't mean anything to me. And because he knows that you don't get a master lip injector certification in a weekend course.
Yeah.
So I think they're great options for providers who don't have any other options and they really want some type of hands-on skills and some type of like learning of the foundational vocabulary. But my hope is that they don't leave feeling like they truly are some master lip injector. There is no such thing. You don't become, I think it was Jess that said in one of her lectures that she said you are not a master injector in your 20s. Like that is not possible. You don't have enough years to be a master injector. So, needless to say, you are not a master after a weekend AAFE course with a certificate. So, I was super blessed to have them, and I am so loyal and thankful to them that I hope to ride the rest of my career with them by my side.
Yeah, and even with that, it's like, mastery and someone, if you wanna throw it in the comments or something, but I might be wrong on this, but from what I understand, mastery and I think it's in Chinese, actually means to copy, right? It's like to copy until you can, like, copy the master, right? And that's not overnight. So I might be wrong with the word master, but there's a word that is aligned with mastery that means it essentially means to copy.
Yeah.
And so you're copying someone who has done it repetitive over and over and over and over again. Just like you can't learn kung fu and say, I'm a black belt day one. Or just like, you're in the bodybuilding world. You can't say, oh, I'm going to come in and win this figure competition. Ma'am, you got to build muscle for a few years and condition for that. Like, And what are you doing? You're copying your master, right? The person who's training you and saying, you need this much protein, you need this, how many macros, all this and that. You're doing that. You're just following them because you're like, okay, I'm going to do everything you tell me because eventually I'm going to end up like you.
Right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And so if you are listening and you're coming out of school and you think you're a master injector from an overnight or a weekend course, or you think you're qualified to do things that you can't even reverse because you don't know how to, it's like you should really take a long look at that. Because I love what you did. It's like I think it's better to, and like, you let me know what you think about this. I think it's better to even pay for your education. Like, go see if you can go work for a plastic surgeon, right? See,
100%.
like,
I think I looking back would have paid for that experience. I didn't have to, thankfully.
mhm,
But
mhm,
I the knowledge, but that's what I'm saying. I didn't realize what a blessing I had in my hands in that
yeah,
moment because I didn't know the industry yet. I didn't
yeah.
know that this didn't exist. I didn't know how blessed I was to have this level of education, level of I think what makes it stand out is the level of supervision I had
Mm,
because a lot of injectors start and they start at like some cookie cutter corporate med spa and they go and they're like okay and the owner isn't a provider and the owner's like all right start making me money and they don't have that supervision whereas for me it was almost supervision to the point where it was annoying and I'm like guys I think I know what I'm doing and they're like well we just want to make sure because these are our patients so the level of supervision is it makes you feel so much more comfortable as a brand new provider. So, yes, to your point, I would have paid for that level of education and supervision so that I had another pair of eyes basically saying like, "Yes, Alexis, you're doing that correctly." And aside from that, having a medical director like a Danny Soares who's double board certified facial plastics, I know I can call him at 2 a.m. if shit hits the fan and I'm like, "I need you. I need your expertise. I need you to meet me at the office right now." And he would drop everything to be there. So not only is the education there, but the support long term is there. And that's why it's so important to have a medical director that isn't like a urologist that has never injected a syringe in his entire life and is just taking a grand from you every month
yeah,
to
I
be
know.
a supervising physician.
I know. And another thing I want to touch on is that, you know, you work for an organization, you don't have your own shingle. Let's talk about that for a minute because I think everybody thinks the path is start working for somebody else, steal the patients, and start your own thing. Or get out of school, start right away. Or go, don't steal the patients, start something.
Yeah. Uh,
That's not the path for everybody.
no, I learned quickly that with my gyms, and I think I'm a unique injector because I have entrepreneurship in my history, right? I owned gyms, I managed people, I managed multiple locations. I quickly realized that entrepreneurship for me was over romanticized. I realized quickly I don't enjoy managing people. I'm a great leader, but I don't enjoy managing of the people and the personalities and worrying about if somebody's going to show up for their shift. There's a dark side to owning your own practice. And I think that it should be kind of kind of celebrated a little more the injectors that want to create their own brand and almost function as entrepreneurs within somebody else's house. And I think as long as you're in a very healthy environment, like Larry, as the owner of the practice, allows me to be the Orlando Injector within his house. But I am always the Orlando Injector at the Village Institute of Plastic Surgery. I'm not trying to create this image that I own the practice, but I do as an alpha personality and wanting to always grow, I do have to create something of my own within his practice. So I don't think that you have to own the practice to have a successful career as an injector. I think you can create your own brand while respecting the house that you're in and still feel that sense of kind of fulfillment.
Mhm. I agree with that, and it kind of goes back to our overarching theme there of the self awareness, right? You know yourself, right? And so you understand that about yourself. And I do believe that more practices should provide opportunities for intrapreneurship instead of driving their people out and not allowing them to benefit from the upside of the
Right.
practice, right? And more people, I think, would stay if they knew that there was a path.
Because they feel like there's growth. A lot of injectors leave because they feel like they've hit a ceiling and they can't grow more than what they've done. So then for me, I get my growth from my other income streams, from creating a YouTube channel, from writing my books, from selling skincare online. So I have other ways that I can fulfill that like always wanting to do more and more and more itch that I have. So I don't think I agree. I think the reason providers leave is because they feel like they've hit a ceiling, but I think if they're kind of empowered to grow personally in whatever shape or form that looks like for them, I think that they're more likely to stay and be loyal to that practice because the practice is pouring back into the provider. And it's not just a you inject, I make money, I send you a paycheck. It's more, it's deeper than that.
It is. Cause I mean, it's like one of my clients who has like 1,800 employees, he said this, and he started with only a little bit, right? He said, when I started, and I would never talk about my vision. And I would always, he said, I would always say, what is your vision for your life? What do you want? And then he would tie that back in to what the company was doing and how their visions would be fueled by what was happening in the company.
Right.
And I think that's the coolest thing, right?
I think I absolutely agree. I think everybody is motivated by something different. So you have to talk to your employees about what is it that's motivating them. I'm not
Yeah.
necessarily only financially driven, right?
Mm.
I have to feel like I'm growing and I'm doing more than I did last month. I'm fueled by progress, by forward motion, right? So it's not necessarily the paycheck, it's am I growing something that is going to be great? So for me, you wouldn't be talking about dollar signs. You'd be talking about what stage can I help you get on to, or what door can I open for you so that you have more access to or a larger reach to a larger audience. So, like Larry knew that I loved educating. So, anytime he got in front of somebody that could potentially get me a speaking engagement with them, he would literally introduce, before he said hi, my name is Larry, which he never has to do. He's like,
Mhm.
this is my girl, Alexis. You have to get her on stage. She's amazing. You're going to love her. And so he poured into me by opening the doors that he's already opened in his career and putting me in front of the people that can help me achieve my goals. So 100% agree. Talking to them about what their vision is and then wrapping it into their own vision. I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, and I think that's so beautiful. I love Larry, and the thing I love about him because, like, with that, it's like he used his referent power, because people love him and they also respect him, right? His express power, he used that to get you indoors. And how many practice owners say, no, I'm the only one that's going to be the trainer for this company. I'm the only one that's going to be center stage or have a following. I know some practices where they don't even allow the practitioners to have a social media presence. And I'm like, well,
I mean, here's the thing, and we briefly talked about this before we started, is a lot of owners go into it planning for the divorce, right? They're planning for that provider to leave. So they live in this like scarcity mindset, this like fight or flight mindset that they're going to like I know in the next year this person's going to leave because they're going to be too big for me and they're going to think that they can do it on their own. Whereas
Mhm.
like they don't realize that if they pour into them. I know an injector in my messages right now that messaged me saying, I want to be top 100 injectors, and my owner will not let me do it because he said two people can't be top 100 in his practice. So she wants to leave the practice because she feels like she's being stunted. Like her ceiling is here, and she feels like she can't grow within the practice because he won't let her apply for the top 100 injectors. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Why
It does.
wouldn't you want 2 top 100 injectors in your practice? Why wouldn't you?
That's
Because
great.
there's egos in this industry and it's so
Mhm,
silly.
mhm.
But if you pour into your providers and you don't bring, I mean, the reality is that there are people, there's going to be a turnover, right? You will always have people coming and going in your business. But I think the more you pour into your providers and you don't have that scarcity mindset of planning for the divorce, I think that you can create a really loyal, like fruitful relationship that's really healthy. And it's an I scratch your back, you scratch mine kind of situation.
Yeah, I mean, and what you point out there, it's really like it's the positive intent plus positive action, right? Because some people have positive intent, but their actions are trash, right? But it's positive intent, positive action, and and as leaders, if we have positive intent and positive action towards looking towards a vision, values, where our people want to go, it's only going to be better. So those of you who might own a newer practice and you're listening, you're still building your team, this is such a great conversation to, and you should reach out to Alexis. I think she takes calls, but like you should reach out to her. She's a successful business component of Village Institute of Cosmetic Surgery and Aesthetics, right? She's a successful component. So you should be reaching out to her for that. So going into that too, you have started a couple of new endeavors in the past couple of years, and it's been so great to see because I relate to that. But tell me about some of the books that you've written. Let's start with that.
Wanted to create the resource I wish I had when I first started. I had Dr. Soares and Larry Blevins, but I didn't have something like tangible in my hands that I could like refer to back and forth and have. So I wanted to create something special and take my brain and my experiences with my patients and my vision and how I look at a patient and put it into words and be able to like share it with
Yeah.
a newer injector that feels lost.
Mhm.
So I started out by writing a lit book, and I remember I handed my first draft to Dr. Soares, and he's like, "This looks like a coloring book. It is not elevated. It's not. It's not good enough to be." So he redlined the crap out of it and sent it back to me, and I was like, "Oh my god! Like I can't believe that was my vision." So he had a huge part in like expanding my thought on like what I can actually do with this book. So
Yeah.
my book has anatomy, it has complication management, it has a full video portal of over 30 lip injections for the first one. It has CME credits. Like he's like, you have to, if you're gonna do this, like you're gonna do this right. So I started with the lip book and then I was like, oh my God, like I have really good feedback on this. And then I did jaw lines and then I did a
Mhm.
cheek book and then I did mastering the mature perioral region. And I created this kind of little library of Alexis's brain in a book. And it started from something of like, I just wish I had this when I started. And I'm really proud of it. I'm really proud of the resource that I created for injectors. And it's just, it's not me showing up as an expert because it has my complications in it. It has things that have gone wrong with my patients. It's me saying, I've done the work. Here it is.
And those resources are like you said, are so important. There's things I wish I knew, back in the day, but you can't go back, but you can give back to someone who is where you used to be. And I think that's the beautiful thing. And that commitment to excellence, I think, I don't know. What do you think about this? I mean, I think there's a stigma in our current world around excellence and showing up as your best self.
You think there's a stigma around it? How so?
Yeah, I mean, I think people tend to like to take shortcuts. They like to take shortcuts. They think they can get something for nothing. It's like, let's show up to work wearing sweats. Like, I remember there's a practice I used to work with, and I'm so happy that's gone. But it's just like her team members were showing up in like Spanx and like flip flops. I was like, this is a medical establishment. You call yourself a doctor? Like what? It was shocking to see, right? Like, and I just think, but when someone was operating, saying, "I'm going to wear nice things," so they didn't have a dress code until something was instituted. When someone said, "I'm going to wear nice things," and they would try to like tear them down. That person is so uppity. That person is so da 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 da. It's very interesting. Even how people show up. Like, guys, don't talk about my camera. I know I can get it together. I have professionals, and I don't do it. Whatever. But I just want to point out something. Alexis has a beautiful setup right here. But people who understand excellence are going to look at that and say, wow, she invested in putting together her camera appearance to be the best it can be with the camera settings, with the camera she used, with the lighting, right? And, but not everyone's going to do that or even want to do that.
Just lazy. I think
Well,
I think here's the thing. If I'm going to put my name on something, I want it to be the best that it can be. And with that being said, we talked about this before we started. I'm also not afraid to not be good at something initially. And we talked about this when I launched my YouTube video or my YouTube channel. My first video I look back on and I'm like, oh my God, was I shooting through a potato? Like, I don't understand. Like the angles, the lighting, the everything, the how I was carrying myself, the voice, the graphics, everything it was all wrong. I'm not taking down that video because I'm like, it reminds me of where I started. And everybody has their first patient and is shaking with their first patient. Everybody has their first video. And I think it's so important to be okay to suck at something in the beginning and then you get better and you get better and you perfect your craft. So I think it's so important to invest in whatever it is that you are putting your name on. So, like, I brought Jared in, who is a magician in our industry and well loved and respected. I invited him over to my house and I said, you are a king in this atmosphere. So please set up my camera, set up my mic, set up my lighting. I need it to look as good as possible
yeah.
while I'm learning. So I think it's important to invest in what it is that you're putting your name on because it is your brand and it's representing you. And but it's okay to not have it perfect at
Mhm.
first.
Yeah, because I think that will stop people. And yeah, shout out to Jared. You guys, if you need websites and things,
Oh, he's
shout out to
incredible.
Jared. This is not a paid post. But yeah, like this is not a sponsored ad.
Not a sponsored ad, but get with Jared.
But shout out to Jared. But yeah, so I agree with you on that. It's just like, and I think sometimes, perfectionism can get in the way of the becoming, right? Because right now you're kind of building this authority in public. You're like, okay, I'm a beginner, but I'm going to put in the reps and put in the reps and put in the reps because I'm not new to the knowledge that I'm bringing to you, but I'm new in this medium. And I think, that distinction has to be there because some people, they look at the numbers and say, oh, that person doesn't have a lot of following, so they must not be. That's not the case. You have
It's
depth.
so true. You know, some of the biggest providers in our industry that are so respected don't even have a social media presence. So I don't think it correlates at all. But if you're trying to grow something amazing on social media, I mean, obviously the numbers matter. But I think, and you and I are both fans of Alex Hormozy, and I'm going to butcher what he said, but he basically said, what an exciting time to build something when nobody knows you even exist. Like,
Mm.
just go full speed ahead. Nobody's watching. Just do it
Mhm.
all. And then as you grow, you'll learn and people will start watching your stuff. But what an exciting time when nobody knows you exist. And I'm like, ah, first of
Because
all,
how many of us are going back to 2008 or whatever, or 9 or 10, whatever it was, and looking at Alex Mosey's first video now? We're looking at probably the past 10 videos.
right?
We're lucky.
No, isn't that so true? Like, what an exciting time when nobody knows you exist to make all of your mistakes. Like, just post and you'll
Yeah,
figure it out.
exactly. And even if they do know who you are, it's okay. The ability to say, I don't care. I'm going to start in this new arena. I'm going to start this new medium. I'm going to start display myself in this certain way. It's like, it doesn't matter. It's like, guys, we're all going to die. We're not getting out of here alive. None of us.
The cringe is hard to get over though. Whenever I post something, I'm like, oh, I haven't mastered the getting over the cringe of feeling weird, of like posting skincare videos and me putting creams on my face. Like, it's uncomfortable, but at the end of the day, nobody cares. Nobody
No
thinks about you as much as you think about you. Like, nobody cares. They'll scroll, and if they have a negative thought, let them.
Mhm,
So, and
mhm.
what is it? The let them theory. I
Mel Robbins, yeah. Let
love it.
them, honey, let them.
I feel like our For You page is exactly the same.
Probably. Hold on, guys. Hold on. If you guys are watching, we're gonna pull up our For You page on the Instagrams. Let's look up our. Hold on.
I
Hold
feel
on.
like it's Alex, it's Mel, it's the guy that has the European
Oh, I
accent.
can't even share my For You page. I have some nonsense here. What?
We'll talk after.
Sorry, just kidding, guys. I'm not sharing my For You page. That would get me banned.
But I think flooding your brain with those thoughts of like Diary of a CEO, like
Oh,
I'm constantly like flooding my brain with that kind of content versus scrolling. I honestly very rarely scroll over injector stuff. I'm really wanting to like elevate myself and always that like self-help type of content in my head versus scrolling over like injector content,
it's so
honestly.
funny. It's so funny you say that. I remember I did like a mass unfollowing, like I don't know, because I used to follow like 3,000 people. I did a mass
And
unfollowing.
did you post about it?
I don't remember if I think I might have done it in my stories. I might have posted my stories just saying like, but I was just like, why am I like it's all the same. Like, and I'm not an injector. Like, I don't care about your patients unless you're my client. I just don't care. Like, and so I just kept only people. And I don't want to say I don't want it to come across. It's not a matter of people that I'm like learning stuff from.
No, I get it. You wanted to expose yourself to the content that you needed in whatever phase of life you were in, and you wanted to kind of like trim the fat of the other content that was getting through, right? So there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's great. Why should you watch my video of me putting cream on my face? That's going to do nothing for your growth.
I mean, I might watch yours, but because I know you, but it's like if I know someone is different than just like someone that I follow sometime or whatever. But I just think, people who were like, I remember someone reached out to me specifically was like, did I do something wrong? I noticed you didn't follow me. I'm like, number one, why are you checking that I'm following you? Like that's like the biggest red flag. I was like, you're not my friend because if you're my friend, you're gonna call me. We can go hang out. Like it was just very weird. I was like, but anyways,
Oh.
so it's like, so building the Orlando Injector, that content, that community, and all the education. So you describe yourself as like the audience injector bestie. Like, you love to do like real talk, like, you tell people the truth. What influenced you to kind of like say, all right, I'm going to stick my fork in the ground or whatever, and I'm going to build a platform where others can learn? Where did that inspiration come from?
It came from trying it all. I remember over COVID, I was watching Shelby Miller videos and I was
Mhm.
like, God, she's so good at dancing and she's so good at just like getting in front of the camera and being silly and stuff. And I remember trying to film a dancing injector video and I remember showing my husband and my husband was like, it ain't you. It's not you. You're trying too hard. It's screaming, try hard. It's not you. He's like, you're not that girl. You're not the singing dancer injector. You're not the funny injector. You're not the injector that's going to do voiceover memes. Like, it's not you. He's like,
Mhm.
who are you? And I found through trying these things that I'm the I'm the boring educator. And what I mean by that is I love sitting in front of a camera and
Mhm.
sharing. Like
Mhm.
I'm not gonna dance my way in front of it's not and I have nothing there's nothing against that. I actually enjoyed that content and that's why I tried it for myself,
Mhm.
but it didn't land for me. It didn't feel authentic. It didn't feel genuine. And I kind of realized that I love having conversations with other providers and sharing our knowledge and then posting about it. Like I just did an interview with Jillian Murray from the UK on vascular occlusions, and I loved sharing what I learned from her. So I kind of created my platform around the concept of I am here as your injector bestie, meaning I don't have all the answers. But what my platform is bringing people who are going to teach me, and I have the resources and the reach to bring them on. So let me bring them on and we can learn together. And that's
Mhm.
kind of where I want like some that's the warm and fuzzies that I want people to feel when they come to me. It's like Alexis is cool, Alexis is chill. She doesn't know everything, but she's going to ask somebody and then she's going to share it with us. And then she's also going to share what she already knows. So I realized that I love just sitting in my chair, having conversations with people and sharing what I know and what they know. And so the boring injector doesn't have to have like a negative connotation around it, but it was just like kind of where I feel most authentic.
And I don't, and I just want to push back on the word boring. I think because it's like, I'm a big history buff, so is my husband or whatever. People would say us going to some historic home on the weekend and then going kayaking is so boring. That is very stimulating for
That's
us.
called peace.
Exactly, right? And like it's very stimulating for us. So look at the pedigree that you are that or the aesthetic lineage that you're from. Dr. Danny Soares. The great Larry Blevins, right? You have a great anatomist, and then you have also a history buff, and then you also have someone who is like so amazing at so many different techniques and different things who taught you. They're serious people. You came in with your little weekend thing, and they said, honey, this ain't the way. Because, if you think about Larry, his background, he was an army guy. No army person can come and say, yeah, I know how to lift weight, so I'm ready to go. They'd be like, get in line like everybody else, or we're gonna do something bad to you. So it's just like you are around people, especially a plastic surgeon, who are disciplined by excellence because they have no other choice. And so that's what you bring to the world as a bodybuilder too, disciplined by excellence. And so the world has no other choice. So what's going to align with you are people who love to be disciplined by excellence. And so you're stimulating to them.
Yeah, and I think what's really important is you will also, if you show up as authentically you,
Mm.
you will find your audience, right? Like they're going to come to my page because they're looking for XYZ. And if they end up hitting follow or subscribe, it's because they were drawn to who I am. And knowing that they hit that subscribe button while I was showing up as authentically me is so much more exciting than if I was dancing on screen and trying to be somebody that I'm not.
Yeah.
So, as much as I was attracted to Shelby Miller's content, I think she has created the most beautiful empire.
Oh,
She is
yeah, it's great.
authentically in herself there. It didn't
Yeah.
work for me. So, I think
Mhm.
my only advice is to like find what really resonates with you and and create content around what you want to see and who you are. And I think when you're genuine, it feels so much better. Your growth feels so much more rewarding, in my opinion, when you are showing up as authentically you.
Yeah, because like you said, people are going to be coming into your world who are aligned because you're not faking the funk. Because when you put out fake values, fake, just like values, you put fake values into the world, you draw people who think you're that, then they come in and they're like, wait, this is not congruent. That's the same thing that happens with leaders, right? In organizations they say we're this, but then someone comes in and it's completely opposite. They're like, you're, and so they say, you're a liar.
Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
wants to be a liar? So if you're faking the funk that you're fun and you like to do this and you're like all funny and stuff and you're faking the funk, but then when they meet you, you're stoic, they're gonna be like, I'm not getting the same feelings.
Yeah. Yeah. Why aren't you dancing?
Why aren't you dancing? No, it's so great, but it's so true. And so your platform, what you built, the stepping stones that you've been able to have from like people investing in you like Larry and everything, it actually led to some great things because you're training for how many companies now?
I started with Prolenium and MERS, and now I'm
Yeah,
kind of positioned really exclusively with Evolus right now. I
yeah,
definitely work with Evolus, so
mhm,
which is such a beautiful company.
yeah,
Love working with them. So really,
yeah,
really just Evolus right now.
yeah. And then also you've made top 100 quite a few years as well, injectors, and you were also named the next generation leader of the year at Aesthetic Next. I remember when you won, like
I'm
like
so
5.0.
excited.
It was so great, but it was beautiful because that was your peers that voted for you.
I think that award meant a lot to me because that year I was I mean, every year I'm grinding, but that year particularly, like I grinded so hard. And that award kind of was an award for my family and all the sacrifices we made and all the traveling I was doing, training and everything. So it was so much more than just winning an award in our industry because at the end of the day, these awards mean nothing, right? It has no reflection on you as a provider, but it felt really nice to be recognized for a really hard year as far as being away from the family and putting in the hours and stuff like that. So it felt really good to bring that home to them.
Yeah, and I think that's beautiful because that shows like, all the things you're doing underneath because people sometimes see, they see a person and they're like, okay, they're so composed, but underneath the little legs are going. Yeah, the little legs are going. Yeah, yeah, I love it, but it's great. That's how most successful people are. They got little duck legs underneath on the calm waters, right? And the last thing I want to touch upon to kind of bring it home is like, the grind, right? We talk about that, and I know that like Emma Grady or whatever came out with her book, The Work, and like it was a big controversy because
It
people,
was huge.
woo, it was.
I I'm like in the middle of her thought process. Like I love her mindset, but I don't know, I lean probably more her. I don't know. It
I
depends.
feel like you lean more her.
I think I lean more her. I think she's just a powerhouse. I think she's absolutely incredible. But she has a tribe of people around her that allow her to do what she wants to do. So, I mean, she has like
Including
morning
her husband.
nannies and drivers and all these things, and she's just figured it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's because the grind and juggling, because people might say like, okay, like I don't have children, right? But I have a husband, right? So you have to give your husband attention. It's a plant that you have to water, and if you don't water,
Fragile plant, a fragile.
you know, our babies, they're fragile, and you have to water them, or they shrivel up and die, and they're gonna try and get some water from somebody else, honey. But girl. But anyway, it's just it's just like I want to ask you. So, how important is infrastructure around you when you're building a brand, when you're, working and doing all these things? How important do you think is infrastructure to support that?
I could not be married to somebody who does not support my crazy. And what I
Mhm.
mean by that is I I couldn't do what I do without my village, without my tribe, right? I have a daughter who's 4 years old. When I'm gone, I scheduled my mom to come into town and be there for my husband to help take some of the weight off. And I could not be in a marriage that didn't I don't ask my husband for permission to go do these trainings and conferences. I say, "Hey babe, we have nothing on the calendar this weekend. I'm going to be in Dallas at Aesthetic next September. Love you. I have my mom booked. She'll be here to help you with the baby."
Yeah.
And I think it's so important for a woman who is a mother or a man. I think it's so important to have dreams independent of your family and to fulfill them and go after them because I think when you feel fulfilled as a person, then you show up as a better wife, as a better mother, as a better friend because you are living in your true purpose. So I could not so infrastructure and my village and my tribe, it is the only way to do what I want to do. And I am very much, like I said, fueled by progress. And if I was in a marriage or in a family that stunted that, I couldn't. I could not be married to somebody who doesn't let me dream big and go after my dreams and allow me to pursue them. And I know several marriages in the industry that have a hard time with their wives training and traveling and doing all these things because they're not home being the mom and the wife. Well, I'm sad for them because they do want to do these things and their husband doesn't let them. So I'm grateful that I have a husband that is very secure with who he is. Doesn't care if I post a bikini pic on social media because he knows who I'm coming home to. He doesn't care if I'm up at 3 a.m. editing content because at the end of the day, he knows it's pouring back into the family and So I'm grateful and blessed to have the village and the tribe that I have. And I couldn't do it without the support system that they offer me.
Shout out to the husbands. Shout out to the partners, right? Like just shout out. And that's the last thing I'll leave us on. And then I wanted you to give your advice too. Is just like the partner that you choose is such a huge life decision, and it's going to affect anything that you are going to do. Like I talk about somebody who I read too much, I listen to too much stuff, but I love Arthur Brooks too, and he talks about he's like when you have dreams, he's like there's always going to be someone's dream that supports the other person's dream, it's just what it is, because someone's going to be stronger, more, whatever, in what they feel they want to do, and the other person's like, you know what, I'm fine with supporting that, and that's going to kind of take over
Totally.
what it is. And then it's the same thing with my marriage, right? My husband's very much secure like yours. Like it's just like I'm going here, I'm going there, or whatever. We work together, so it's a little different, so we get to be together a lot. But when I do have to go alone, he doesn't say anything. He's like, okay. He's like, I'll see you when you get back, whatever. And it's just like, and that's what it is. And I think it's beautiful. And you do have to make sure you have that supportive partner, because if you don't, it's going to make going to work, and it's going to make everything really sour.
Absolutely. I think your partner, well, I remember when I first, this is probably TMI, but when I first married him, I remember my husband's very simple. He's at peace with very little. He doesn't need a massive career. He does, I mean, he's Orlando SWAT, so he has a beautiful career. He's incredible and he's a badass, but he doesn't need awards and social media. Like his social media is me just collaborating with him on a post. Like it's all my posts. Like he
Yeah.
doesn't care. And I remember at first being like mildly turned off by the fact that he wasn't this like epic go-getter. And then I really did some like thinking and like self like looking inward, and I realized he's exactly the person that I need in my life because he's so grounded. He's so okay with the simple. He brings me back in when I spiral, right? So I think that when you're looking for a partner, obviously you want somebody who is incredibly supportive of if you have personalities like you and I that are trying to dream big and go after everything. It's okay to have somebody that is on the opposite spectrum that is really grounded and simple. It's not a turn off. It might be exactly what you need in your life to kind of remind you of like, Alexis, it's just some social media. How about we sit down and have dinner and have a drink? Like, like he keeps me grounded. So I think finding a partner that kind of balances, that has strengths that are your weaknesses, and it kind of just like levels you, brings you back to earth.
Yeah, and I don't think that's TMI. I think what happens, like too many people, they want to be the alpha woman, and they say, "Oh, I'm looking for a man in finance, trust fund." Like, like it's like,
But
come
listen, girl, I'm an alpha in my career, but I'm a beta at home. Like I
hey.
love being feminine at home. Like I'm very masculine in my career and at work, and I love being in control. But when I walk through that door, like I'm a wife and a mother, and I love that. I love that traditional mindset. So I have both versions of me, and I think that that's nice. And he's the masculine in our household. So I think
Mhm.
just finding that partnership, it really is a juggling act. So
I love that so much. And last thing, do you have any words of advice for someone who was where you were 7 years ago?
ooh, injector.
Yeah. Or yeah, mostly women listen to this podcast, but yeah.
I think don't don't be afraid to try something new. You're not too old. I don't care if you're 45 and wanting to try something new and you feel like I'm not 30 with no wrinkles. I think go after it. I think you will find your audience, and there are so many 45-year-olds that are wanting to try something new as well that you can motivate and inspire. So my biggest piece of advice, if you have something burning inside of you, go for it. Start, be imperfect, be messy, clean it up along the way, find people, find your resources, find your tribe, and just go full speed ahead on anything that is burning inside of you.
I love that. And with that, guys, thank you for joining. Everything about Alexis is in the show notes. So make sure you pick up her guides, her anatomy books, all these different things. And make sure you also join her YouTube. That will be linked as well. Till next time, guys. Thanks.
Want more clarity like this? Join the Branded Practice newsletter community. I write about strategy, systems, and brand leadership straight to your inbox. Go to diamondhandsmedia.com to sign up. And if this episode hit, share it with someone still building without a brand. This is the Diamond Hands Podcast. Thanks for listening. Now go lead.